¿Será que ya estoy live? Es la primera vez que hago esto, qué angustia. We're talking more from the gender video. Ajá. Y... mm, ¿qué hago? Le doy aquí. Invite to join. ¿Será? Bueno, esto supongo que request to join the room show from here. ¿Sí? No. Sí, pero no sé cómo se hace esto. O sea, mm, Christina Yarchin.
Hi. We
No.
did it.
Can you hear me?
Okay.
A ver. Vamos a poner los microfonitos
Turn
en
this
los...
volume down. Did we make it?
I think so. I'm so excited. Can you hear me?
Me too. I can hear you. There's like a little bit of a delay, but let's see. Are you hearing kind of like a delay too?
Let me see. Déjame. No te conecto.
Okay, you're kind of if anyone is watching, can you give us like just a little feedback on the audio, the video, if you're hearing one of us clearly but not the other, seeing one of us
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. I can hear you, but I'm definitely glitching, and I'm not sure if it's my internet or what are you feeling on your end? Do you feel like your internet is strong?
Yeah, I mean, I can hear you perfectly. I'm trying to... okay.
Oh, thank you, Lenny. Hi. Okay, how is it getting better or still about the same? Are both of us in and out? Okay, Lenny says it's clear now.
Okay, let me try my side to see. I mean, I couldn't connect the earpods. Lenny, can you hear me?
Both better.
I'm gonna close the computer because that could take internet too. So I'm gonna close that. All right.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, it's feeling better for me too. It's like a little glitchy, but not like it was. Okay, hi. Let's get rolling here.
Yes. How are you?
Okay.
I'm so excited.
Me too. I'm so happy to be here with you. It's just very exciting. We're gonna have so kind of the flow of our conversation is gonna be like you and me are doing the thing that we do. We just we pick a topic, we talk about things. I would love to invite everyone that ends up tuning in, whether it's live or after the fact, to submit questions or comments or thoughts. If we can answer and address them intentionally and responsibly, we will do that. If we feel like it would be better served for another time or kind of a different format, we will definitely inform of that too, because we want to be thoughtful and intentional with the responses here. These are big topics, right?
Yeah.
Every conversation about parenting can kind of have, it's big. It feels big and it is big. And so we want to do our best to just really honor the theme and the realm that is raising and being in relationship with children. So let's start by maybe just doing some short introductions. Christina, I want to hear who you are, woman. Tell us who you are.
We can have like the whole hour just talking about who each of us are. I mean, not talking about it, just trying to figure it out.
Trying to figure it out.
The first thing that comes to me is that I'm the mom of 3 kids. And that's like the first thing, because I feel that through motherhood, like a lot of things has happened to myself and internally and all these processes. And for me, it's like a full-time job that I love. I can see the importance of being there and taking it like seriously, like with intention and passion. So yeah, I feel that I'm a mom, and being a mom for me, it's like being their probably like energy guardian, like the guide facilitator, something like that. What else am I? I'm passionate about communication and human connection and the human experience in general, like trying to figure out how to go through this lifetime with the most joy and ease as we could. I'm from Venezuela, so the accent, it's because English is not my first language. And I don't know, and that's it. And I am your friend, and I love that.
Me too. I love that too. Yeah, I will add that I met Christina back in either 2016 or 2017, right? And probably 17. And really, Christina, you were the first mother that I met in person that was truly embodying this frequency of being in relationship with children that I just knew existed. And that I was just like, yeah, like that's what I feel for me in my life, and my relationships with them. And that's really like what this expression, like if the expression of parenting had a template or kind of an organic design, it would be this, right? And so we'll talk a little bit about what that means in this conversation. I think that'll come up. But that's the truth. So it was really, it's kind of scary, I think, taking the leap into this style of being in connection with children and really kind of honoring it, because it's so counter to what is kind of the norm, what we've adopted as the mode of operation of being in relationship. And so it can be kind of scary taking that leap. And you really helped me. Your example really helped me to kind of own, my position in a way that, I just felt like a rooted oak, just like being around you and having these conversations and allowing these thoughts and these sensations that I had, these ideas that were wanting to come through, just be what they were. So I'm so grateful for that. And yeah,
I love funny that we're just let me say something, because when we met, that was through Anna, and she was like, "Oh, you should meet Christina. I mean, I think that you're gonna like her." And And for me, I mean, your name in my phone, it was Christina Unschooling when I was not thinking about unschooling anyone. And so it's so funny that for you, it was like, oh yeah, she embodied it. And for me, it was like, oh yeah, I mean, I can do this because I have the reference of at least the communications with you. It was like, oh yeah, I'm doing the right thing. I mean, what I'm feeling and what I'm sensing, someone else is seeing it too. So it was mutual in that case.
Oh, I love that.
Mhm.
That is so beautiful. The sentiment is mutual. So okay, so let's jump
No,
right
who are
into the
you?
topic. Oh,
You have to introduce
I
it.
could talk about me a little bit. Okay,
No, don't leave
fine.
me.
Yeah, so okay, so I am also Christina, right? I'm another Christina. I always love that too, that our names are the same. Um, and I am a mother of three. I have three boys, ages 10, 6, and 3. And my entrance into motherhood started at age 22. And originally in the first, 24 hours of discovering that, you know, if my pregnancy continued, that, I was going to be a mother and my partner and I were going to be parents. I was kind of very uncomfortable with this idea because my mind had all of these other thoughts about what my life was going to be. But, I think that what I know now, kind of looking back retrospectively, is that my baby, who is now, 10 years old, was communicating with me then and was like, oh no, like I'm right. I'm right for this world. Like, I am not a mistake. I am not something that's out of place. And if you can trust this process and you can lean into this process, like I will help you. I will help you to understand what this is about, right? And so I think that definitely the most life-changing experience for me has been kind of seeing and knowing parenthood and motherhood as a transformative calling, right? And I think we share that. Understanding that, like, this is not just, me who has this responsibility to this other being, but that, like, I am literally being transformed and shaped and grown and expanded through this experience of like learning how to be in this kind of connection with them. And so that is definitely like a dominant part of my life experience. I too am very passionate about human relationships and just understanding, why we do the things we do, how we kind of get to this place of expressing as we do in our lives. And so, yeah, that kind of shows up in all the different ways, right? Like that's kind of the medicine that I would say that I'm kind of bringing is like this, like you, this kind of insight or these ideas or this possibility that relationships can and maybe want to be treated in this different way. So yeah, I think that's about it for right now, at least.
Yeah.
Um,
Nice.
okay, cool. So, okay, so the topic of today's conversation is the role of a parent's personal truths and values in relationships with children. And the prompt for this discussion, when it came up, is, Christina and I are information seekers. We are people who really value learning and deep diving and kind of expanding our awareness and learning about other people, learning about other views. And we were just commenting on a couple of posts, informational posts that were targeted at parents, that were kind of covering the impacts of different various things on a child's health and in a child's life, right? Like, so the impact of these things, right? Some of those things were sugar and artificial dyes in foods, video games, like these other things, right? And so we were kind of like sitting with this and we're like, we have this embedded process of being able to engage with information and kind of understand, how that information, what we bank as parents in our minds, in our bodies, as our beliefs, our ideologies, our truths, things we think we know, things we think kids should know, what is the role of this information? Like, how does this information want to be leveraged in relationships with kids, right? And so that's kind of like the anchoring point, I think, for the discussion. And, I think I'll just start by asking you, Christina, how do you know how the information, like, how do you know what the role is of like your thoughts and your perspectives and your beliefs in your relationships with your kids? How do you know?
Yeah, and I believe that that question is like the most difficult one to answer for any parent. Like the whole concept of what's mine, what is not mine, what is true for me, that it could be not true for them. I mean, thinking that each of them is their independent soul and container, and each of us have like a different contract of things that you're coming to do here in this lifetime. So yeah, I mean, I believe that one thing is to be clear of what is your goal as a parent, even what it's parenting for you. Like, because sometimes I see that most of the people relate parenting to protect, like really, really protect that other thing. And like a lot of things happen there. Like a bunch of things we miss only to protect, a lot of things we put into them with the, how do you say that? Excuse of, oh, I'm protecting you. And that make us feel good. Like, oh yeah, I'm doing this for your good. I mean, you're not seeing it, but I am. So for me, it has to be with the goal, defining, and that's something that most of us not even think about it. Like, what is my goal? I mean, where do I want to go? I mean, what is the future in my relationship with my kids? Where I want to be in 1 year, 6 or 20? What is the kind of relationship that I want to have with them, and what I want in them? Not only my relationship, but what I want them to be, where do I want them to be in 10 years? When I'm probably not there all the time. That's probably one reason why protection, it's not my first answer. I mean, I'm not saying that I don't protect them in some things. But yeah, protection is not my first answer, but I believe that the goal is important. And how do you do it?
Yeah, no, that I completely agree here with you. It's like, I think that when I connect fundamentally with what parents, what we want, right? Like what we truly know is what we want in these relationships with them, but also for them to have. It generally comes down to things like, we want them to be able to navigate the world healthily, and to be able to be robust, and to be able to discern and decipher between good information and bad information, and to be able to make decisions from this place of like truth and integrity, right? Like that's what it is, right? So to the world, there's so much out there in the world, right? There's so much external output and feed, and and a lot of compelling feed, right? Like, I mean, I was watching this video that I thought was really well done, and it's talking about essentially like the impacts of like video games on the brain, and all of this stuff. And the interesting thing about the topic of video games is that I have like a completely different personal experience with the impacts of video games in my own life, like as a kid who gamed a lot, and the adult that I've become, and then now in the lives of my kids, right, who hold gaming as an interest. And so I was watching this person like put together some really compelling information and sharing the scientific data and all these things. And I was like, yeah, maybe that's true. And also, like, have you considered all of the variables that need to be at play in order for some of these conditions to come forward, right? Like,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
addiction, like, is addiction to video games correlated, truly correlated to video games, right? Like, I would, my understanding of it now would be more that, you know, video games in some ways are kind of an innocent bystander of some sort of like breakdown, some fundamental breakdown that happens for a variety of reasons. But, you know, I digress. It's the point of kind of, you know, pointing at this is that there's so much information out there, and, you know, so many people that are brilliant people who want the best, who want to share good information. And parents are out there, right? For the most part, like, this has kind of been my observation, is that parents are out there and they're like immediately absorbing this information. You know, it's coming from, you know, these credible sources, scientific research, clinical data is demonstrating that this is the way. And then you see people taking this information back, and they're really kind of like trying to funnel it into their kids and into their relationships. So there's this fear-based kind of behavior, you know, that's really sadly breaking down the foundation of the relationship, which is the core, the way, the place from which all of these other things emanate. You know, becoming a robust decision maker, being able to connect with your personal truth and what is right for you, and your unique body chemistry and your unique susceptibilities and all these things, right? So that's typically what, when I connect with it, I'm like, top priority for me is that these individuals can maintain a strong connection to their inner system of guidance and authority and decision making, right? Like, that's my goal. That's what governs, that's what helps me decide, okay, how do I act in this moment? How am I going to behave in this moment?
Yeah, I totally agree with you that the relationship with themselves. I mean, we are so used to put our power out of our system that for me has been like super clear almost since the beginning that accompany my kids or other kids through the process of what is your body telling you? Why do you want this? Like reflecting that, and I believe that that's something important, that it's not the final decision. I mean, probably in your house, because of the dynamics that you have in your house, you can allow, or you want to, or you're able to allow only 1 hour of electronics per week. And for me, that is not the main problem. The main problem is how you get there. And if the relationship with your kid is deteriorating because that is more important, like 1 hour of electronics every whatever, it's more important than how you get there and how you respect their voice and how you listen to them and how you express your needs and true or whatever it is. For me, that's more important because at the end, I want them to, first of all, to feel respected for who they are. I don't want them to overpass what it's coming for them. I mean, if they really feel good playing 5 hours in one day, and probably my other kid only wants to play half an hour because she doesn't like it that much, I don't feel that I have the information to tell the one that wants 5 hours to tell him like, no, that's not valid. And I can tell him, I have a problem with it, but me, because I asked. Can you hear me?
I lost you. Yep, I can hear you now.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't think that even few things that I'm certain that it's best for them is still there. For me, it's super important how we get to the conclusion. Because I can tell them like, you know what? I don't know. I'm an intuitive reader and I saw that this is not good for you, so get it out of the house. And even if it is like a complete truth, that's not the way in the relationship. I mean, they are not robots, we are not robots. And the main goal of parent-kid is connection and trust. Well, for me, it is. I mean, I understand that there could be other goals, but for me, that's the main thing. And yeah, to respect them. I mean, to respect the person, the soul that is there. And I feel that there is so much problems in the world because we don't feel seen, heard, and respected. But probably like 90% of the problems in the world will solve when we feel all those three. So yeah, for me that is important. And so yeah, it's not that much about where do you want to put the limit. It's more how you get there. I mean, we have had conversations about YouTube, for example, and how were they feeling about what they were watching on YouTube. And after a conversation for probably, I don't know, an hour, we got to the conclusion that YouTube was a place to go when they didn't want to think about anything else. Like an easy place to go, like, oh yeah, I don't want to really be connected to anything else. And for me, that is important. I mean, and that it comes from them and not because I'm giving them the information and I'm forcing them to anything.
Oh, I love that. That was super juicy. Like, that was just, there's so much in there. I mean, it's like, yes, this is the key, right? I think that you spoke to it in your kind of the first piece that you were sharing, which is like, we validate in our own minds this entitlement to distort their realities and to restrict and to move to this place of total constriction, right? Like energetic constriction, physical constriction. We validate it through this idea of like, this is what's best for them. Like this is what they need, right? And we really don't understand that the value is not being translated, right? They are not through the experience of, this is an interesting concept too. And, I really, I'm so grateful for the work of Sandra Dodd and other radical unschooling writers and mothers, who are seasoned, who talk about the difference between teaching and learning, right? And really illuminate this total like logical idea that learning is this unconscious, involuntary process, that is actually controlled by the learner. The learner gets to decide on some level what they allow into their field of bank of knowledge and information, right? And so we spend, it's fascinating because our whole education system, the kind of classical education system is based on this premise that teaching equals learning, sitting children in classrooms and talking at them and giving this information and, nicely, gently manipulating them and coercing them through like being sweet and kind and okay and making them feel important, right? Like this is another thing, like you are so special and you get this special, you get to pick the book that we're going to read today, like giving them and I don't mean to judge any, right? We all understand that there are these moments where you get taxed or you feel like you're in overdrive in parenting, and maybe this is where like the bribery comes out and the subtle manipulation comes out in these things. So it's not a judgment or an attack. It's just kind of looking at this way of relating and understanding that like what you're doing in that process is, actually like you are supporting them in externalizing their power, right? Like you are participating in them. It's solidifying this belief in them that like, oh, my knowing is outside of me. Others know best, right? Like this is how, so it's a complete confusion of the whole process of decision making, right? A distortion, a manipulation. And I'm using those words, I really mean that. I don't mean that it's conscious or that parents are trying to hurt and harm. I'm just saying this is what is actually happening in those moments.
And I believe that it's so I think that we have talked before that for me, like the human experience is like we are playing Fortnite. So it has like a specific variables and things that we're gonna go through. And for me, this what we are talking right now, it's part of it. So it happened to us. I mean, from our parents and society in general, it happened to us. It will happen to our kids in some sort. I mean, it could be less if we have done like a lot of work, a little bit more if we haven't done so much, but it's gonna happen. And part of it for me is that to give the chance to the person to do their own work too. So there's always some sort of conditioning, and they will choose what layers they will peel off or not in this life. And at the same time, I sorry, I was thinking about something when you were, I lost it. No, I mean, if it comes, I will do like a sign. Well, I think it was about. Oh, yeah, it came to me. I was talking to my kids today in the car about that process where what you're feeling in your body, that is like the highest intelligence, gets distorted by someone outside that you trust that person so much. I mean, because it's survival, so you need to be connected to your mom, dad, or whoever, or caregiver, and they're telling you that is not what you're feeling. I mean, I can't imagine. And I was telling my kids, like, I know that happened to me, like saying, I don't know, I mean, I'm hungry, and the person telling you like, oh no, you can't eat until the next, I don't know, 3 hours. I'm like, but I'm hungry. And when you are 2, 5, or 10, what you only understand is that my body is telling me this, but someone that I trust more is telling me something else. And I'm, in that moment, I'm prioritizing the connection. So I'm going to trust this person, I mean, no matter what. And I'm going to shut down whatever I'm feeling. And then we go to schools and you have to pee and they tell you like, no, you can't. I'm like, okay, so I can't even trust my basic needs because someone else is telling me that it's not right. So we are like in this constant wave or loop of my body's telling me something and someone else take it back. And my body's telling me, and I mean, even as a baby, when I remember before having Sophia, that the midwife told me that I have to feed her every 3 hours. And I was like, why? I mean, why I can't feed her? I mean, I didn't do it, obviously. But I was like, why I can't feed her when she's hungry? I mean, it sounded so wrong. Or this method, I don't know how the method is called. Like yeah. For me, that's like the biggest experiment of conditioning, sadly, to the kids. But when I think about it, I mean, can you imagine being like 1 month old, crying because you need something and not receiving it? I mean, again, we are like, my body is telling me that I need someone and no one is showing. So yeah, I think that we are like in this constant wave of losing authenticity and conditioning because we are prioritizing that connection. And I think that that's huge. And I believe that if we all look at infancy and parenting from that lens of, instead of seeing like, oh, my kids are manipulating me or things like that, like they really need something and you are the only one in their lives, because humans are like that. I mean, like the animal is like that can provide it to them. So like to try to switch the perspective there.
Oh gosh. Yeah. I mean, that's so powerful because it's, you know, my experience in working with other parents and just observing other families and kind of being invited into partner around things with parenting, with other families, you know, once those first few years, like so much is happening in those first few years, like the first few days of life, the first few weeks of life, and there's so many decisions that are unfolding in those, you know, again, first few days, first few weeks, first few months, first year, first 7 years, right? That lay the foundation for, you know, the way that the child understands the role of adults in their lives, you know. And to me, you know, we've talked a lot about the potential challenges of outsourcing your decision making, right? Because even people who think that they do research, you know, I hear people all the time, well, do your research, you know, you need to do your research. And I'm thinking, yeah, you are still in a loop of externalizing your decision making to outside information, rather than allowing outside information that is totally correct and per your composition to kind of support your process, rather than be the driving force behind your decision making, right? But you know, the coding and the imprinting of this style of being in a relationship, which it kind of includes like coercion and manipulation, and even if it's nice, you know, even if it's like nice looking or seeming,
or reward.
gosh, like
I mean,
totally, like
imagine that you don't punish them, but you give them rewards. It's the same thing.
totally, right? Like it's a bypassing. There's so much that's happening, and you know, people can come out of those childhood experiences seeming very high functioning on the outside, because generally speaking, where there is this maybe bypassing of the, you know, the kind of emotional developmental layers, there's a focus on intellectual intelligence, right? Because you want them to master skills, you want them, right? So that those primary basic, you know, emotional brain development, like these key components are kind of getting the cold shoulder, while these higher, you know, this higher development of intelligence is now being fed and strengthened. And then so you have this super intellectual being who is completely emotionally, energetically disconnected, you know. And it's difficult to tell that that's what's going on. I mean, so people climb the ladder, they achieve great material wealth and success, they, right? And you have all these people who appear to be these wealthy, privileged, you know, people who have absolutely no foundational skill set, you know. And to me, that's the ultimate downside of kind of not investing in this way in the first 7 to 10 years, right? Like I'll be honest with you, like I think my husband would agree in saying that, like, we don't do core parenting with our 10-year-olds the way we used to. Like, there's a period of time where it's like, all you're doing is you're partnering at that point. It's a lot of conversations, it's being there, it's, you know, you're still available to do those things. But by 10, when you've seeded this foundation, you have this person who knows themselves. And so it becomes a lot easier. You're not having a person who's constantly externalizing their power to you, right? They might try because they trust you so deeply. Like when they know, when these really super embodied young people recognize that you are not an adult who is going to try to manipulate their reality, they want to know what you think. They want to know what you think. They're asking you for, you know, thoughts and opinions. You are a prime example of this, right? Like,
it's funny because not even when they ask me, I answer. I mean, I answer with questions like, what is your body telling you? And Tomas told me the other day, like, how am I supposed, well, the other day, like a few years ago, like, how am I supposed to do that? Because I asked him, like, what is your body telling you? And he was like, how do I ask my body? Like, well, I mean, breathe, close your eyes, I don't know, whatever. But yeah, even then I start like making questions like, oh, what can I eat? What do you want? I don't know. Yeah, okay, you want salty or sweet? And then we move from there. Um, but yeah, I mean, I totally agree with you. Um, and I believe that, I mean, like relating to the title of the call, um, I feel that I would be like less worried about what is my truth, my values, their values. Less worried at that and more focused on how we relate, how we give the information, how we accompany. Because, I mean, it's not true that we are going to know exactly what they need or what we need, or, I mean, we can't know that everything is not part of any of our shadows, or that's how I feel. Like, every time that I'm like, is this really true? Is this really aligned? I'm like, okay, I can present it in a humble way of, this is what is coming up for me. And how do you feel about it? And try to find like an agreement of, okay, how are we going to move? Can we try it for a week? Can we discuss it again? This is how I'm seeing it, but if you feel different, I'm here and we can talk about it. So for me, that's part of my journey with my kids. Like, not as much as defining something that is super true. Well, probably, and I was talking to Claudia the other day, that I believe she just joined, that she was telling me that her husband told her, like, yeah, I mean, you're all in this like flexibility, but you're not flexible about not being flexible. So I believe that, yeah, there is like a truth for me that is, I want to stay in connection with them and I want to accompany their process more than imposing anything. Um, Probably if they tell me like, stop doing that and start imposing things to me, I wouldn't change it.
I totally agree. I mean, that happens to me all the time. Like, they're just like, tell me what to do. And I'm like, I'm here to help you. Like, I'm here to help you. You can, you know, let's work together to figure out what it is, that is your way. Now, granted, I think that one thing that I want to just loop around to is this idea that, this does not mean putting decision making that is kind of out of their, beyond their, let's say, developmental,
Yeah.
right, onto them, right? This is not about like leaving kids who are 18 months old to, decide whether they want to rest. That to me is disrespectful to kids. That is not loving and kind of honoring. But even in this way, I mean, when I talk to my toddlers, in this way where it's like, if I'm being fought about laying down for rest and I have this kind of sense that it's time to rest and that rest would really benefit, everyone in the equation, I'm still communicating with them from a space of self-ownership and self-possession. I'm not saying you need a nap, you're tired, you need to get to bed. What I'm saying is like, I totally see that, you don't feel like this is the direction right now. And you might be right. And I'm open to shifting. And also, I'm going to support us kind of being quiet in this space for 15 minutes.
Yeah.
And if we need to shift that, I'm open. So it's like everything is still happening, right? Like all the things that they can't communicate. And particularly when you are communicating with them and you're reading their body language. I mean, from the time that they are minutes old, their bodies can tell you, do they like the way this outfit feels? Do they like, right? It is a skill that wants to be developed. I'm not saying that it comes super naturally. It comes more naturally to me now after baby number 3, but it's a skill that can be cultivated where you're in this kind of space of attunement with your child, and you can kind of see, like, what is their body moving closer to or away from, right? It's like kind of this like energy testing that's happening with all of these things. You're reading the energy, you're moving with the energy, you're willing to shift, you're willing to kind of move and shift your direction, but you're not putting the burden on their shoulders to make these big decisions about stuff that they can't totally be with at a certain developmental stage. And then the moment that you see that they have it, right, the moment that you really understand, like, oh yeah, like this being has totally integrated, like, this person knows like when they need to rest and when they need to be up and all of those things. You step back, right, and you're like, yo, I'm here. I'm here if you need me, and I'm going to continue to ask questions, and I'm going to continue to check in, you know. So I just wanted to make that distinction, right? We're not talking about putting unreasonable stress on children to make decisions that are beyond, you know, their developmental reach. But yeah, no, I love what you're saying. And then you come to this place where, as your kids get older, you have this partnership with these people. Like, it's not an expectation that we should hold of our kids that they're going to be our people, but like, our kids are our people, right? Like your kids, my kids, like these kids are like, they're involved. There's no hierarchical relationship. Today I felt pretty terrible, you know, like I'm not feeling the best. And like the older kids totally stepped in. Like I was just like, I am so sorry. We talked about doing this thing today. I feel terrible. Like I need to lay down, you know, for a few minutes. And they just like jumped right in and they started doing, you know, they were like, Jake was like, come on, Bradley, you know, come over here and let's do this. Like mom's going to lay down, you know, and all of a sudden you're like, oh my gosh, like these kids are totally like reciprocating this love and this adoration. And again, I don't expect it. I don't want them to be responsible for me, you know, and I was just like, no, it's okay. You know, and they're like, no, it's really fine. Like, we love you, you know, we want to do this. And like, I get emotional even thinking about that. That is something that like, I never knew was going to be a potential outcome of this way of being in a relationship with them. But it is. And I see it in your relationships with your kids too.
Yeah. And I think that something, when I talk to certain parents, something that gets misunderstood is that it's the concept of when they think that there is no hierarchy. Yeah, in the family system, they think that there is no authority, and it's not that there is no authority. Is the authority comes from respect and not from imposing that authority. So I mean, yeah, they look up to me and they ask me, but not because I told them like I know best. And I always remember like Rapunzel's mom, well, stepmom song. And I was like, oh my God, Jess, like 90% of the moms are like that, like mommy knows best. And when you were saying about the babies, I feel that something that could help is when we see it, when we are aware that they are their own person. I mean, like each kid, because I feel that like a common, a common theme in society is that they don't know. I mean, they're too small, they're too little. At some point, they will, I don't know, switch and turn to someone who knows. I don't know how they pretend to do that. I remember, and I was telling this to a friend the other day, that in Venezuela, they say, muchacho no es gente. It's like, kid is not a person.
People, yeah.
And those things that you repeat, and I realized it the other day, and I was like, oh my God, I grew up with this. Muchacho no gente. They don't even ask you what you want to eat. It's like, it's there, and it doesn't matter. So just shifting that of they're whole. I mean, they chose you. You're doing like a partnership with them. It's not like they're nothing and then they're gonna become something that I guess people think that they have to put into them, because if not, they're gonna be like empty for the rest of their lives. I don't know how it works. And when you were putting this example about the 18-month-old that they need to nap, I feel that there is a huge difference between offering, accompanying, and reflecting than imposing. So you can put the environment, you can do everything you can to help him sleep. And if he doesn't want to, I have seen parents that they close the door and they're like, you have to sleep and figure it out. But we're talking like the other extreme probably. So if they don't want to sleep, yeah, you will find something else to do. And with time, those moments as they grow up, you will be able to reflect with them and what is the consequences of no napping, for example. It's like, oh, you didn't nap today, and how are you feeling right now? I mean, not with napping, because when they're 6, they're not gonna nap, but I don't know, you didn't eat during the whole day. How are you feeling about it? Like, well, no, I'm good. Okay, I'm good. And respecting that instead of, no, you're not good. You really look tired and and again, we go back to how to accompany them in not putting their power out of their body and listening to themselves. So for me, it's like, yeah, accompanying that process all the time, which is super long and it could require like a lot of energy. You have been like my reminder of self-care. And I think that is super important, because if not, doing this job with all these characteristics, it's so hard. But that's like for another Instagram live.
That'll be our next conversation. We'll talk about, I actually think that's a beautiful kind of closing statement, but also like a potential for the next conversation, because it's like, I think that I listen to a lot of things that are like parenting conversations about being respectful and, being gentle or being this way or that. And people are like, okay, so like, how does that happen? Like, how does it actually happen in the context of this life, that I have here, right? How does it happen? And so, of course, the answers to those questions are going to be individual, but I do think that it's possible that we could have a conversation about that topic and kind of bring up some generally helpful thoughts and maybe just some of our own personal experiences, how we navigate it, how we tend to our needs and also kind of operate in this cooperative, collaborative format, with our kids. So, okay, we're creeping up on our hour here. I think Instagram is gonna kick us off in about an hour. I don't see that anyone has posted any questions in here. If you have any questions, maybe we'll hang on here for another minute, and you're welcome to share or post something in. But otherwise, this was incredible to connect with you, Christine, on this topic, and I really look forward to doing it more. And if you're not able or don't feel comfortable or don't want to send questions during the live, or you didn't make it for the live, please feel free to direct message us on the side, to comment on the this is going to go up on, I think, Christina's profile. I'll try and find a way to link it to mine, but feel free to comment and ask questions and give us your thoughts. Like, what did you think? Oh, I'm so glad, Nicole. I love you. Thanks for watching. Okay, cool. So do you feel complete, my dear? Are there any summarizing thoughts?
No, I'm really happy to do this, and I feel that there is a lot to talk about, and especially not only to how to accompany the kids, but how to accompany the parents too, because I feel that we are such a minority that, we need not to feel that we are crazy.
Absolutely. I love you, LJ. Thank you for watching. Thank you so much to everybody who joined us. Okay, Christina, I love you. See you next time.
I love you too. Bye. Let's see how we close this.
I think it's going to ask you to save it on your end. It'll give you a prompt when you go to click it out. And
click it out is like the arrow, like to share it? No, that's for the comments.
Maybe the X.
Anybody know how to do this?
The X? Yeah? Oh my God.
X me out. It's okay.
Bye. Are you sure you want to end this video? Ay, me quedé sola aquí.